And everyone's just smoking cigars, isn't it?
Does it make you want to smoke cigars?
Yeah, fuck it.
The power of television again. You young, impressionable fool.
Like, if Arnold Schwarzenegger, whenever I see him smoking a cigar, I'm like, yeah, well, if he can do it.
But you've seen him lifting weights, and you don't think, I want to do that.
Yeah, I don't do that. Yeah. But then I see him act, I'm like, I could probably act better. And I think he is a very good actor. I mean, he's not Olivier. Or, Brando. How have I lost... All these pieces of paper are blank, except... Oh.
Is it those ones?
There you go. Yeah. There we go.
What a good start this is.
Right,
episode 2. Oh, so we'll go with... I'm Mark P, he's Connor G, and this is Construction A Marc. Play some sort of fucking music. Wah, 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 wah.
Okay. So today we are discussing.
Well, on the board it says WWF to WWE.
Yes. Now, when I was a kid, there was WWF, and there was also WWF. Yes. One of them had a panda.
Yes, it did. Yes.
A lot of them had Lycra.
That wasn't, in my eyes, that's the Worldwide Fund for Nature. That's the WWFN.
No, it was just the World Wildlife Fund, wasn't it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I suppose.
And one was wrestling.
Yes.
And that was fine.
And that was the pandas.
Yeah, that was the one with the pandas. It was fucking horrific. Because when they don't have their bamboo, they just go nuts. But one of them was wrestling and one of them was the other. And I never had a problem with that.
No.
I could tell the difference. Because if Hulk Hogan is shouting at you through your television, I don't assume he's asking for donations to save the pandas. I mean, he could have.
Save the damn pandas. Brother.
There was... Do you remember there used to be loads of adverts for... like, you can adopt a dolphin?
Yes.
And I assumed that they send you a dolphin. And I'm guessing every kid thought that.
I want to tell you a story. It's a story you told me earlier on.
What?
What was it Liz told me? About adopting a turkey.
Yeah, you can adopt a turkey.
Did you say that?
Oh, yeah. It's a thing.
So did you... I would say, did you know that you can adopt a turkey?
I did, yeah. I told you about it earlier on.
A story you told me not an hour ago in the pub.
That whiskey is strong shit.
One sip.
Yeah. You can adopt a turkey. They'll put it in your bathtub. No, you can adopt a dolphin, and I assume that they would send you one, and you'd have to look after it. A plush one? No, a real one. And you have to keep it in your bathtub.
A dolphin?
Well, I mean, because you adopt a dog, you get the dog. You adopt it. You adopt a child. You adopt a child.
If I adopt an elephant,
you get the elephant.
Isn't it just that your money goes into its whale keeper?
No, they'll be like, we need to come around and measure your garden.
Give me a stamping in the fucking Simpsons.
What's your access to unshelled peanuts like? We'll find out. Let's go to Five Guys and steal all their peanuts.
So, before we go on, this is an interesting one here because we are recording this on the 7th of November, as the clipboard said. Which they will not see. Oh, well, just take our word for it. We've got a clipboard and everything. A clapperboard. A clapperboard. Yeah. But the pilot of our show goes live on the 10th of November, and episode 1 goes online 4 weeks after that. So this is going to be going online, middle of December, something like that. So
the beauty of a pilot is that you send the pilot to executives and stuff, and if they don't like it, you don't make episode 1. Whereas we've decided we'll do a pilot and then we'll immediately greenlight it.
Yep.
And we'll start recording episode 2 before the actual pilot goes out.
That's the one. Yeah. So the reason I'm saying that is because, of course, we could have had a fuck ton of negative comments on the pilot and episode 1 by the time we're recording this. Yeah. We also could have had some lovely comments from you wonderful people at the same time. So thanks or fuck a lot of you, depending on how it's gone.
I mean, hopefully it's well balanced.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we can always hope. Both of us are on Twitter. The links are, fuck it, you'll go on the screen there. And we're both on Instagram as well. Connor is a fabulous artist, modelling his T-Ink hoodie right now. T-Ink.com. Go check them out. It always makes me laugh when I go into Budgeons, which is our local shop here. They've got a card display by the front door, haven't they? And it says the best cards or the funniest
cards in the world.
And every time I walk past them, it's like, that's just not true.
Yeah, my cards are the funniest cards.
Exactly. Yes, they are.
If you need a card for... I'm not going to go into it. Right, yes.
You should do. Shill yourself.
Well, alright, if you need a card to celebrate the fact that you know someone who just had their first croissant, go to t-ink.com.
In fact, there it is.
There it is.
Look at that.
You've got to stop doing that because now you're just going to put me into this editing hole of just all these... Yeah, if you want to see Mark wearing spaghetti on his head...
There it is.
Just put a picture up that says "picture not found." Now, one thing that I do want to mention about our previous episode,
yes,
we discovered that. Well, here you go. I've got you a little present to say congrats on your first.
Oh.
On your first thing. It's not well wrapped.
Do you mind if I just rip tear around?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, let's just pull on one there.
Oh.
Okay.
I have no idea what I'm about to see, so... Oh!
Look at that.
There we go. Look at that. Can you see that? Fab.
Because we discovered that Sidney Lauper invented wrestling. So, there you go.
Thank you very much, sir.
No problem. Merry Christmas.
Well timed.
Yeah.
Thank you. I haven't got you anything.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I understand.
Wow. God, if it wasn't for copyright, I'd suggest we put it on right this second.
Yeah, that's true.
The inventor of wrestling.
So if you felt
Look at that hair, folks. Look at that hair.
So really that's just proof. If at any point you felt offended by us... Maybe we weren't taking the mick out of Sidney Lauper, I don't think at all. But if you were offended at any time, well, I've given her some money. So we paid for it.
I'm guessing quite not that much, though, being a CD and all. But yeah, no, I don't want to.
I'm not going to go into the producing
is it like the greatest hits?
I think so.
In the early 1980s, right, this will be interesting actually. I'm going to read this to you because I want to see if it says wrestling about wrestling. In the early 1980s, Cyndi Lauper helped popularise a colourful new wave of fusing several musical genres. Blah blah blah. Nothing about wrestling. Nothing. That's disappointing. But thank you very much for that. I was not expecting that at all, so I'm very happy about that.
So, what happened to WWF? Why did it go from... Why is it no longer WWF? And also, when I was a kid, there was WCW.
Mm-hmm.
And who was the guy with all the shit on his face? Ultimate Warrior?
That of all those various ones that had shit on their face.
Not actual shit.
It could have been.
Some of them probably.
Multicoloured shit, though. It's you know... I mean, we know how to get brown shit, obviously, and white shit. You don't get that anymore. But in the 80s, white shit was everywhere, wasn't it?
You just add a bit of food colouring to that.
Yellow shit, that.
Oh, fucking stinking.
Never mind.
So what happened to it?
At the risk of sounding rather dirty, how deep do you want me to go here, buddy? Because
as deep as both of us are comfortable with. I think that's probably the best. If you see tears in my eyes, stop.
We are talking about the World Water Fund here, aren't we?
Yes, the world. Yeah, because that still exists. The World Wildlife Foundation still exists, or fund.
Yes.
But WWF does not. When and why did that happen?
So I have this A4 page of notes, which I could just read out to you.
A madman
verbatim.
Scribbling.
Yeah, because of course I'm dyslexic, so I'm looking at my awful handwriting.
All right. Well, now I feel bad about taking.
No, please don't.
No,
it's something we found out this year.
Oh.
Believe it or not, I've been testing everything because I would write stuff because, of course, you know, in my line of work now, I have to do a lot of writing, and my wife is looking at my writing going, your handwriting is atrocious. You know that, don't you? I'm like, yeah, it's always been like that. She's like, you're not dyslexic, are you? And I'm like, no, obviously
just
not.
got bad handwriting.
But then it says at the top, brief history. Brief. Anyone who's been watching my vids for a while knows I don't do brief. Let's talk about this for 5 minutes later. 2 hours later.
So, yeah. What
I was going to say is that I wrote brief history. I missed out the H.
But you still know
because I was writing, because my brain goes faster than the pen, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't know how much do I want to say.
Let's start from the start, because I just assume that WWF has been around forever. That it's always been WWF.
So in the early 1900s, a man whose name right this second is already forgotten, promoted boxing and wrestling shows at Madison Lies in New York.
In Madison Square Garden.
Madison Lies.
Madison Lies.
Yes.
Like lies.
Yes, because it's not a square and it's not a garden, so it's Madison Lies.
Wait, what are you saying? What words you're saying? Like I'm not telling the truth.
Yes.
I'm lying right now.
Yeah, lies.
But I'm doing it twice.
Yes, because it's not a square. This is a long-term thing, isn't it, viewer? You know what I mean.
This is a bit. This is like a thing that
I've been saying for years.
Okay.
It's not a square, so it's Madison. We'll give you that one. Not a square, not a garden. So it's Madison, lies.
Right, but the building not square?
Yeah, no, it's round.
Maybe it's in a square. Like it's like Times Square.
Like
Times Square. Times Square isn't square. Yeah, it's New York.
Anyway, so in 1952,
right,
Capital Wrestling was started. Okay, this was set up by Jesse McMahon and a guy who the wonderful name of Toots Mond.
Toots
Mond. Okay, and they were part of the NWA. Now, the
NWA.
Yeah,
not the NWA I'm thinking of.
Is it in your glossary?
No, because the NWA I'm thinking of is something with attitude.
Okay, is the NWA in there?
No.
Oh, that's interesting. Legitimately. Yeah, they're all. So the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, to you and me, they're part of that. Basically, in 1963, Capital Wrestling breaks away from the NWA. The NWA were the controlling power in wrestling. So
because like the NBA, the NFL, it was that kind of like.
There was loads of territories across America. The Capital Wrestling was the Northeast, so New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, all that area. Okay, so you were part of if you're part of the NWA, you got your bits. You didn't go anywhere else.
What do they call them? Conferences?
Territories.
Territories. Okay.
Okay, so there was a dispute about the champion who was Buddy Rogers, which is
Buddy.
Buddy, another Buddy, and yeah, so they split away and formed their own company, which would be called the Worldwide, and this is what I want to tell you: the Worldwide Wrestling Federation. Here's me banging the table.
Still there. So that was WWW, WWF.
Yes.
Were there only white people in it as well?
No.
So it was the WWW.
the white world,
and there were only women, so it was the WWF.
I don't know why it was called Worldwide when it only promoted in there, but of course we are talking about a country that has a World Series.
But apparently the World Series is because it was sponsored. Rumor has it, like the song, that it was sponsored by like a newspaper. Like news of the world, or the world. So it's like their thing.
I did not know that.
And I think now it's called the World Series, and everyone else on the planet goes, "Whoa, what are you doing?" But no American ever goes, "Nah, it's because it's named after a newspaper."
Where did the accent come from, though?
Then that was my voice. Did you not hear it? That was me. I did that. No, I don't know. That was American.
So, Buddy Rogers has the WWF Championship.
Right.
In April of '63, he loses it.
The F was still Foundation.
Federation.
Right.
He loses it to Bruno Sammartino in May of 1963. He goes on to check this out. He goes on to hold the championship for 8 years.
Pretty good.
Bruno does. Yeah, people marks these days, wrestling fans, whatever you want to call us. If a wrestling title reign lasts 6 months, they'll be saying it's too long. As of this taping right now, AJ Styles has been the WWE champion since last November.
It was like a year.
A year reign. And nowadays you go, bloody hell, that's incredible. How's that happening?
How often do they do like championship bouts?
Most shows, I would say.
Like every week?
Yeah.
Really?
No, not on television. On the house show circuit they do.
House show
circuit.
What's house show circuit?
So house shows. So in the WWE you have 4 days on, 3 days off.
Right.
And you'll do cities or locations as a rule in America that are close to each other. That's the circuit.
Right. So wait, you know the filming of it, is that always in the same place?
As a rule, yeah.
So like is it Raw?
Oh, do you mean is every episode of Raw in the same building?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, so that moves.
So this week,
well.
as of I keep saying this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So November the 5th, which was Monday, bonfire night.
Yeah.
The Raw was in Manchester.
And they still. That must be weird to see.
Because they'd been to Saudi Arabia for the crown jewel, and then they're going to. So they came to England on the way back to America.
Now, do the audiences look different between
the
UK and America?
Oh, looks wise, I'm sure they're pretty similar. It's just a sea of people. But English fans are a lot different. We're a lot more
like smoking, flat caps. All right, Mike.
Yeah, exactly that.
No, with the chimney outfits from Mary Poppins. God blimey, look at that wrestler.
Yeah, they come down with Jeeves the butler.
Yeah. Yeah, you have like the upper class section.
They have on the entrance ramp of the English Raws, they have a fucking black cab and a red phone box and a great big fucking Union flag because that's Britain.
That's Britain. Well, that's Britain to American audiences. Yeah. Like, I'll shove a tea cake up your ass.
Exactly that. When you said do the audience all look the same?
Yeah.
What I went to say is they used to tape like 4 or 5 shows at a time back in the day to save money.
Oh, and then
so the audience members would look very, very similar. Yes.
Fair enough. Yeah. Oh, so they don't do that now. So now it's just one show and they film that.
So on the house show circuit, the main event will normally be for the championship.
But they film that.
No.
Wait. So hang on. So someone could become champion.
Yeah.
And no one who only watches from home would find out.
Yeah. They've done title changes at house shows. Yeah.
That's what?
It means that the people who are there. It means the people who are there get to see a title change, which is it makes that show special.
Yeah.
And it also, think about it, it makes you want to go. It makes you as a fan, you need to go to the house show because you never know what's going to happen. WCW famously in the late 1990s, they did 5 title changes in a row on the house show loop. That they were on, and actually went from TV. So some guy won I think it was Booker T won the championship on Monday Night Show on the Monday night, right?
Right.
He then
the Monday Night Show on the Tuesday, I think. It was. Yeah, on the Monday. Yeah.
And then he lost it on the Tuesday. Let's say for argument's sake, please don't have a go.
Yeah, as an example.
So he lost it on the Tuesday, won it back on the Wednesday, and then lost it on the Thursday, and then won it back on the Friday. So that when they went to Nitro on the Monday, he was still champion, and they never acknowledged any of the championship changes.
Oh, no, that's okay then. The fact that everyone at home was like, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Except for this guy just looks really tired.
Yeah. But it makes you want to go and see the shows, is the point. In the 80s, it used to happen a lot, especially with the tag team championships. They would change hands a lot on non-televised shows.
How often was it on TV in the 80s, do you know?
There was the syndicated shows every week.
Right, like the
main
big
event
ones.
wrestling and things like that. And then there was a show called Saturday Night's Main Event, which it aired live on NBC. And on Saturday Night Live, it would air in that slot. Why not?
Yeah.
It would air in that slot on a Saturday night, like once every. Well, there was 4 a year.
Right.
And they drew enormous numbers, and then gradually, as pay-per-view became a thing, there would be the 4 big pay-per-views of the year, etc., etc.
So, I mean, I suppose it's different now with less channels, with less channels back then, cable as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the access is you wouldn't have access to wrestling now unless you're a fan. Is that right, or is it on some Sky or something?
It's on Sky Sports. Back in the early 2000s, it was on Sky One on a Saturday morning.
You would have
a lot of people used to watch it on a Saturday morning, but then it was also on Channel 4 on late Sunday nights on Sunday Night Heat. You could watch it then. Yeah,
and I know in Asia they used to show, is it Nitro?
Yeah, it's a WCW show.
Yeah, I don't know. That was annoying because everyone at home's like, everyone at school's talking about The Rock, and I was like, it's not on it. Or Raw, or one of them might be on it.
You used to watch Nitro?
I used to watch like little bits until my dad comes in and goes, turn this shit off.
Oh, your dad's going to be so disappointed you're doing this.
No, I told him and he was like, fair enough. Sounds good.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he held the belt for 8 years. Can you imagine that? 8 years.
Quite impressive.
Yeah, so when he's like 4 years in, tonight's the night that Bruno's dropping the child. Nope, 6 years. Now, tonight's the night.
With boxing,
yes,
you can kind of keep the belt for a while if you just say, I'm not ready to fight yet.
Yeah.
And then you get retired and then someone else can go. So could he have done that? Like just taken a year between matches?
No. So it doesn't happen these days, but there was a thing in wrestling for a very long time called the 30-day rule, which was you had to defend your championship at least once every 30 days or you'd be stripped of it. It doesn't exist these days because someone like Bork Laser can come in and win the championship and then fuck off and not be seen for 2 months. So it's like the rule's been redacted.
Yeah.
Is that a word? Is that the word? Redacted.
Redacted is or amended. Now, is it then the difference between then and now? I mean, I'm guessing you might have seen a few clips online and stuff of old matches, or are they not as exciting anymore? Or they dated?
Depends what it is.
Because like was it? Because last episode we talked about, I think it was last episode, about how it's not predetermined but kind of predetermined.
Mm.
So has that always been the case with wrestling?
It's been like that since early 1900s, late 1800s.
Oh really? Like a touring show, a sensational.
Yeah.
So that would have been like wrestling's in town.
There's been wrestling forever. But you've got to remember is if you ever watch amateur wrestling, it is so fucking boring.
So the circle thing,
yeah,
and they're like in the leotards and they're like just grappling.
But it's deathly dull unless
you're in it.
You're either in it or into amateur wrestling. If you like amateur wrestling, it's actually your bag of baby. Then I'm sure it's the best. But watching it as a professional wrestling fan, you go, "The fuck is this?"
Isn't it weird though? Like how wrestling do you think things like WWF has ruined wrestling for those people? It's a bit like how comic book movies might have ruined Hollywood. I love comic book movies, but they've got a lot to own up for like CGI, although it's great technology and everything like that. It's now that's what the year calendar of movies is like dominated by. You have to really search, try and find decent films that aren't just people kicking the shit out of each other. And I love watching people kick shit out of each other.
So why do you like wrestling?
Yeah, on screen.
It's on a screen.
With music and editing and things. So, I mean, do you think that wrestling...
We'll get him, don't worry.
Do you think that wrestling like this, professional, even though the weird thing is that they call it professional.
I know, isn't it? The real wrestling is called amateur.
Yeah. But I think the amateur thing might come from things like the Olympics. Because you couldn't be in the Olympics as a professional.
No.
You can't get paid to be in the Olympics.
No.
Now it's a full-time job. But
yes.
So do you think... But I suppose if it's been around for this long, there's going to be people who just don't remember it when you didn't have a choice. When it was just two guys trying to push each other's shoulders onto the mat.
If you're asking why did it become a work, it's for that reason, because it's boring. So matches last an hour at a time, but there'd be a big guy with another guy in a headlock for half an hour.
Yeah.
Because it was a real headlock and your man was trying to get out of said headlock. But that's boring. That's really dull.
As a spectator sport, yeah.
Exactly. Of course it is. So anyway, where were we?
8 years.
Bruno was champion for 8 years. So in March 1979, the WWF was rebranded for marketing purposes as the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, not the World Water Fund, which I've been confused about for years.
About the World Water Fund?
Yes. Oh yeah. Why? Where's Hulk Hogan?
People need water.
That's not necessarily true, is it?
They
need Hulk Hogan more.
People do need water, though.
Okay. So, also at the same... Let's just gloss over that.
It's not true that people need water.
No,
fake news.
At the same time...
Chinchillas.
In the same year, it's 1979, some bloke called Vince McMahon Jr., Vincent Kennedy McMahon, so Vince James McMahon's son, he starts a company called...
Not Jess McMahon.
No, that's his grandfather.
Right.
So Vince Jr. forms a company called Titan Sports. Okay, and he goes off and does some nuts things. He was. Did you ever hear about Evel Knievel jumping over the Grand Canyon in a rocket?
No.
So Vince McMahon Jr. had the television rights to film Evel Knievel. So he went up. He had this rocket and it was on launch pad, and the plane is going to go wee like that, and it all goes up, and then it goes. He has to parachute out of it. But yeah, Vince McMahon Jr. had the television rights to that for him. And he had television rights to a Muhammad Ali fight, and it wasn't particularly good at business.
But he was an televised event person.
Yeah, but he also worked for the WWF as a referee, as a ring announcer, as a commentator. And he was very bad at it, but he was all right at the same time.
This isn't the same. Was this the same Vince McMahon that is still around?
Today, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, jeez. How old is that guy?
70.
Jeez, still at it. Good for him.
And then, in 1982, the year I was born, Titan Sports and Vince McMahon Jr. bought capital off his father.
Right.
So then they became
inherited.
This is my company, and we could do another vid on the history of that, but how Vince took over all the territories and basically stole all the biggest stars and made Yeah, so it's like it became like it had like in the mid '80s you had all the territories, all their main eventers became the WWF's mid card.
Right.
You know, but that's a video for another day. So we need to skip forward in time now to the pandas, which is the whole point of this video, isn't it? Gassing on for to get to.
Wait, hang on. What about WCW?
That comes. Well, where do you want to? We can either talk about that.
Well, because that was around at the same time, right?
So WCW, it was born out of the NWA. Remember how I mentioned before about the NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance?
Right. Yeah.
So WCW, basically there was a company called JCP, which stood for Jim Crockett Promotions.
Right.
They were like the biggest members.
That's an American name, isn't it?
Yeah,
Jim Crockett.
They were the biggest members of the NWA. They had the most power
like
of the
stockholders,
NWA.
or
sort of, yeah.
Right.
But Jim Crockett was an idiot who overspent, basically. When they were
God damn it, Jim Crockett.
The NWA were profitable and were making good money, but they decided to overreach their arm, and they started running. They were based in the South, okay? They were a Southern thing. Yeah. So it wasn't wrestling, it was wrestling.
Oh, because the capital had the Northern conference.
Yeah, well remembered.
Not conference.
Territory.
Territory.
There was territories all over the shop. Most of them were NWA guys, but the biggest ones was Jim Crockett Promotion, like I say, that they were out of North Carolina and places like that.
Yeah.
Florida, for example. So Jim Crockett overspent himself, and the network that Jim Crockett's TV show had been on was TNN, which is the Turner Network.
Okay.
TNT is no
TNT was
TNT. Yeah. So Ted Turner had always had a soft spot for wrestling because it had always brought decent ratings to his TV show or to his TV company. Sorry. Yeah. So in the late '80s, Turner bought the NWA, brought Jim Crockett Promotions, rebranded it as WCW. That was in 1988.
Oh, okay.
So that's where WCW came in.
Right. He invented CNN and Turner Movie Classics. Yep. And was married to Jane Fonda.
I was about to say, I would say Bridget, weirdly.
That would be weird.
That would be weird, wouldn't it?
You know, I was with your mum. Stop. So that brings up to 88.
So we need to skip forward 6 more years to 1994.
Right.
And this is where the pandas come in.
This is where the pandas come in.
So
yes.
In 1994, bloody pandas. Basically, they took the WWF, the World. I'm gonna have to call them by their names now. The WWF took the WWF to court over the WWF name.
See, when you said that, the way you said that, the first WWF that you said, I assumed you were talking about the wrestling because you said it. You said it in a way that I assumed you were talking about wrestling.
No, it's the pandas took the wrestling to court.
The WWF took the WWF. In WWF versus WWF.
Because the WWF, the pandas, is the derogatory version, isn't it?
The pandas, yeah. The pandas took the McMahons to court?
Yep. They took them to court because the Worldwide Fund for Nature, the World Wildlife Fund, whatever you want to call it, has been in existence since 1961. Whereas the WWF, in its then guise, have been in existence since 1979.
It's their fault.
So yeah. So they basically came along and said, you're not allowed to use the WWF. We'll take you to court. They will take us to court. Then eventually they came to an agreement where, and this is quite funny.
Why did they go? Yeah, we'll take you to court. I suppose how long had it been around? Was this 1988?
It's 1994.
1994. So they've been around for 8 years. No, 6 years.
No, they were the World Wrestling Federation since 1979.
Right. Okay.
So 15 years.
Yeah. Okay. They've got stakes then.
Yeah, exactly. So they basically they wanted the Titan or the World Wrestling Federation agreed with the Worldwide Fund for Nature, or whatever it's called, to cease using the WWF initials.
Right.
Okay. And if they stopped using the WWF initials, then they would drop any lawsuits against them, but they would also never take them to court again in the future. So Vince McMahon says, "Fuck it, yeah, we'll do that."
All right.
And then of course,
save a lot of money in court
because it's Vince. He fucking doesn't. You know.
Oh, he just carries on with it.
The WWF logo is all over the place.
Yeah.
And all that, and especially as the Attitude Era came along in 1997 to 2001, where the WWF name is everywhere.
So he took him to. So in 1994, they said yes, we'll stop doing it.
Yes.
And then they carried on using it.
Yeah. Now interestingly, the company changed its name twice over the next decade. Okay,
WWF did.
Yes, but in a way that they didn't. Not on screen, they didn't. Just behind the scenes, they did.
Sorry, hang on. So WWF say to WWF, stop using the initials WWF.
Yes.
And they went, yeah, we'll stop using it.
Yeah, we'll fuck it. We'll
and then on international television, they continue to use W because it's in the corner of every broadcast, isn't it?
This is.
It's on every single microphone.
Yes. On every single turnbuckle. And we'll come back to that in a second because that's important.
Because it's known as the WWF. Why do they carry on using it?
Because it's Vince McMahon and he thinks he's better than...
Or some lawyer went, it's okay. It'll take him another year to get it to court.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So in 1998, they changed their name from the World Wrestling Federation to WWF Inc. Okay?
Right.
Now, and then in 1999, they changed it to WWF E Inc., which is World Wrestling Federation Entertainment.
Yes, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So... maybe they thought at that point,
Well, we're not called WWF. So on the logo and the screens and everything, did it say WWFE?
No, it still said WWF. But at the end of the show, when it said copyright, it said copyright WWFE.
The logo at the end says E.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, throughout the 90s, it's WWF. In the year 2000...
do you know what they could have done? Real quick, we're just thinking about this. If they changed their name, they'd have to come up with what it stands for. To W, and then two U's, and then an F. Then everyone would still know it as WWF. Because it would be W, double U, F. And we're like, oh yeah, we're going to go watch the Wrestling Under Umbrellas Federation. That'd be great. Have they ever done that? Have they ever wrestled holding umbrellas?
I don't think so.
You have to keep it upright. That'd be great. Like one hand always just bounce on your head. Yeah, and then they could have kept... See, Vince, you should have come to us.
Did we try and get umbrellas to sponsor this video?
Yes. This video is brought to you by umbrellas. If you want to bring the inside outside, use an umbrella.
Nice.
Yeah, Vince should have come to us. I mean, I would have been 9.
In 2000? Oh, when
no, in 1994.
Oh, right, yes, correct. I'm forgetting how old you are. So in 2000, we'll wrap up. I'm down to the bottom paragraph now, folks. Don't worry. We're only gassed on for 40 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Alright.
I know, it's like, I just looked at it.
This is a TED Talk.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? Yeah. So this is just me.
I'm quite enjoying this, though.
What I was worried about this fucking series would be just me gassing on.
That's right, yeah.
Also, I don't know how long we were talking before we fucking did the intro. In the year 2000, the Pandas take the World Wrestling Federation to court in the UK. So you see, that's how they get around to never sue him again. They do it in Britain.
Of course.
So
see, that's why he did it, because they said, we'll never sue you again.
Yes.
So he went, yeah, sign the documents. They sign it. We'll never sue you again.
We'll stop calling it for like the WWF for like 2 weeks. Then it's we're in the World Wrestling Federation.
That's quite an asshole move to
do.
Vince
is I'm sure we could do a whole fucking vid on asshole moves that Vince
he looks angry. I just assumed that was an act.
You never know. So,
yeah. In 2000...
they take him to court because they've been using the WWF name, and they win over here. So, I don't know how long the court process took from the year 2000, but...
5 minutes, I'm guessing, when they go...
Have you been using it? Here's some evidence. Here's any pay-per-view for the last 10 years. Yep, yes,
Order!
you have.
Yeah, done.
So in...
like, we have your television programs.
So, yes. Look, the logo's on in the referee.
Yeah, we're going to some backward country called the UK. And then, yeah, there you go. Done.
I don't know how long it took from the court... From when they started the court proceedings to the rule. But it was ruled in well, it took 2 years.
In court?
I don't know.
So when did they go to court? In 2000?
2000. And they...
So it was 6 years after they first went, we'll stop using it.
Yeah.
Jesus. Cheeky bastards.
At the same time, you think, why did it take the fucking pandas so goddamn long?
Well, because they were too busy not having sex. That's basically pandas' main problem in life.
Stupid pandas.
Yeah. I love it how we just assume it's all to do with pandas. But actually, they do a lot of good. A lot of time for them.
I hate the pandas. So...
does WWF have a theme song?
Not anymore, no, they used to.
Was it the same theme song for every...
They would change it every so often, but yeah, in the 80s especially, the pay-per-views.
This is the wrestling.
No. Actually, no, it was just an intro vid. Now I think about it.
Of Was it like a previously on?
No. We don't do that in wrestling.
Oh, we don't do it.
No, we don't do that.
No, we'll crown a new champion when no one's watching. That's what we'll do in wrestling.
So, in spring 2002, so in April, they were forced to change their name to WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment.
And that is what it's called now?
That is what it's called today.
Right.
So, the last ever show that was done in the WWF banner was called Insurrection 2002. It was held at Wembley Arena in London. Oh. I'm telling you this because I was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know it would be the last one there.
Did you shed a tear?
No, I didn't, because I didn't know.
Oh, literally, so no one knew.
It was one of those things that it was literally, they did it, they announced it on WWE.com, or WF.com as it was, we're changing the name.
Wait, so you mean 2002, websites were no way near as good as they are now?
No. And they started a campaign, you'll like this, called Get the F Out.
Nice.
And they had loads of videos, which I'm sure I would love if you could fucking put a still right now on the screen. Where the famous one I remember is there was a guy who went into hairdressers. He had the WWF logo for a head, and the barber cut off the F to delete the WWE logo. So yeah, it was rebranded as the WWE.
Was the website www.wwf.com?
Yes, it was. Yes.
It's a lot of W's.
Yeah, it really was.
And if the internet was around back in the day, it would have been www.wwf.com.
Who would, yeah.
/ what's with all the W's?
So, a point that you alluded to earlier on was that as part of the court ruling, they weren't allowed to show the WWF logo on TV anymore. So what they had to do is they had to go through all the old footage and basically blur out every instance of the WWF logo. And as you mentioned a moment ago, it was on the referee shirt, it was on the microphone, it was on the turnbuckles, it was on the entrance ramp, it was fucking everywhere.
Jeez.
So for a time, between any of the classic footage they released, because we used to release a lot of old DVDs and things, they were hard to watch because there was just blurring all over the shop.
It's like watching Jerry Springer.
So they came to an agreement in...
Not as in Jerry Springer's hard to watch, just because every time someone swears they bleep
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't.
Right, like Jeremy Carl.
I wouldn't know. I've never watched that.
Oh, you're missing out.
I've got a life.
Well, that is life. That is real life. It's like a documentary every day.
The WWE came to an agreement with the Pandas in 2012 that said that they are not...
In my head...
Two pandas, wheelchair.
No, it's like they went to some jungle and there's loads of pandas in a semicircle, like the Council of Elrond. And like Hulk Hogan gets sent and like some other wrestlers and they have to like submit a scroll. It's very weird. But so what happened at this meeting?
They came to an agreement.
You have travelled far.
I will take the pandas.
Yeah, I'll take the pandas to Mordor. Oh, that's horrific. Throwing pandas into a volcano. Isildur!
Cast it into the fire!
Just puts the panda on, disappears. Yeah.
In 2012, there's one line.
No, I'm going to see how far I can...
In 2012, they came to a settlement with the pandas that while they couldn't use the WWF logo going forward, they wouldn't have to blur it out anymore. So since 2012, all the footage has been restored back to how it was.
Can you imagine being the guys that had to go into all that footage and blur it out? Yeah, and then someone goes, guys, you can stop. And they went, we were on the last one.
Yeah.
We'd worked our way all the way back.
So the very last thing I can add to this one is nowadays, you know how, the example I was going to use is, you know how Kentucky Fried Chicken is not called Kentucky Fried Chicken. It is just KFC. Yeah. That is its name. So nowadays, WWE is just WWE. They don't refer to themselves as World Wrestling Entertainment at all. It's just WWE. Although for legal reasons, the company is still called World Wrestling Entertainment. But they don't... It's because they don't want to use the wrestling word. Because they've got films and things like that, which is a topic for another video completely.
Yeah, they produce things like, is it like 12 rounds or something?
12 rounds, yeah.
And some other things. Yeah.
Marine 2.
Marine 3?
Marine 3.
4, I think there's a fourth one.
4, yep. Just come out.
Where's WCW in all this?
So WCW existed as a separate entity throughout the late 80s, as we said, throughout the 90s, all the way through the decade.
They must have been so glad that they didn't name their thing after a company that already existed.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I bet you when that happened, someone was like, "Okay, get the lawyers on the phone. We need to check that we're not named after like the World Conquer." World Conquer. I'm trying to think of another word that begins with W. The World Conquer Wipeout. That's what it was. World Conquer Wipeout.
World Conquer Winners, I was thinking.
Yeah, winners. That's so much better. The World Conquer Winners. Every time someone wins a Conquer Championship, they get it like it's like turning 100 and getting a letter from the Queen. But you get this thing and you're like, you are now in like the World Conquer Winners Hall of Fame. There's loads of pictures of people holding their Conquers.
This is mine. It's
a 49er.
I was going to say 49er. Fucking hell. So WCW were at the height of their powers in 1996 and 1997, and I suppose 1998, and then 1999 it all went very rapid. It started going very rapidly downhill. The same guys being pushed all the time. Bad storylines that didn't make any sense, storylines that didn't matter, etc., etc., etc. And the fans that were watching WCW turned over to the WWF.
Why did that happen? Was there?
That's another vid, mate. There's a thing called the Monday Night Wars. When Nitro started in 1995, it was on at the same time as Monday Night Raw. Literally the same time. And so the Monday Night Wars ran for 7 years, from 1995 through to 2001.
Did they have just like not as much money? Do you think it was?
No, that's the opposite. They had tons and tons of money.
I suppose with Turner behind them,
they had loads of money. They had ridiculous amounts, and they signed loads of the top talents. They signed Hulk Hogan. They signed Randy Savage.
Oh yeah, because I remember he left, didn't he?
Yeah.
Is that when he became Hollywood Hogan?
No, that was later on. That was when he turned into a bad guy, when he became and formed the NWO.
So was he still Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
Nowadays, does the WWE?
Yes.
Quick check. Do they copyright people's names at all?
They have done forever. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. But I don't know how Hulk Hogan got away with it unless
it was before they started copyrighting.
No, unless that he owned the copyright. He could have either bought it off him, or something like. I don't know how it.
The Rock, was that copyrighted?
Hmm.
But I mean, it's not like
because he's drained the Rock Johnson, isn't he?
They don't put
the Rock's a nickname.
TM on or anything like that, do they, on the movie posters?
No, I guess the copyright only. I'm guessing.
Maybe
it's speculating. It's only in
wrestling
world, yeah.
Which is strange then that he was allowed to take on, because was he at the biggest? When did he move on to WCW? Hulk Hogan.
1994.
So that was like the height of his, or was he not as big then?
No, he wasn't as big.
But wasn't that
because the steroid scandal in the early 90s, where the government came after steroids and all that. And he went on to show the Arsenio Hall show and said that he doesn't do steroids. And of course, everyone's like, bollocks, of course you do. Look at the size of it. And his reputation got massively dented from that. Oh, okay. And he went on to be a TV and film star instead.
Well, he was in, Miss Nanny, the Three Ninjas.
Sperm Commando.
Yes.
Went off to make a TV show called Thunder in Paradise, which is about a talking boat.
A talking boat?
Yeah, like Knight Rider, but a boat.
That is incredible. I'd love it if they did that in the UK and it was just a narrow boat.
It's on the screen now. The boat.
The boat. What's it called?
Thunder in Paradise.
Thunder in Paradise. So yeah, I mean, in the UK you could do it, but it would be a really slow-moving narrow boat. Yeah. There's a lot coming up. What do we do now, Thunderbolt? And he's like, get out and crank it. And you're like, yeah, crank it.
7 hours later.
Yeah. We made it. Everyone's dead. They all died because you weren't there in time. We're going to set up a flare. So he went to WCW.
A load of the big players went over to WCW. So Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall went over there. And basically, the ratings for the WWF in 1996 went
because all the big guys
and WCW went and so they were at war, and it was almost a literal war because people's jobs depended on the line, and millions of dollars and were invested in that, and they did brilliantly until the fans got bored of it because they did the same thing for 3 years straight, basically.
All right. So
Hulk Hogan on top, never losing. You know, same matches that were bollocks, or people would turn left, right, and center, become good guys or bad guys. Normally bad guys for no reason at all, etc., etc., etc. Like I say, it's a video that could be hours long if you wanted to go into.
Does it matter if people become bad guys?
If it's done for the right reason, yes. But if you just turn because they would turn people just for the fun of it.
Oh, it's weird that there are bad guys in wrestling though, because. I mean, if they were that bad, they should have all been arrested. Yeah, because they're on TV.
Oh yeah, there was a team called a great example. A team called the Steiner Brothers, and they got taken out by Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, who collectively called the Outsiders. They got rammed off the road, and their car was crashed. And to get revenge, we're gonna have a wrestling match. You're like, fuck off!
Well, go to the police. They're doing the ring. Yeah, so that never happened. Yeah. Like, man, he came in my house and he kidnapped my kids, and then he killed my wife.
And now we're going to wrestle.
Yeah.
So, to cut a very long story short, a guy came in called Vince Russo, who used to be the writer for the WWF. His storylines were atrocious in the extreme. And basically, WCW started hemorrhaging money. I'm talking millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars.
Well, I'm guessing in order for these guys to move from WWF, they would have been getting some very lucrative contracts.
But that's the drop in the ocean compared to the fact that there's so much. The point is, they lost millions and millions in the year 2000. $60 million they lost in the year 2000. So basically, Turner became part of Time Warner.
Yeah.
Right, and Time Warner didn't want wrestling on any of their shows, on any of their channels.
Well, Time Warner's quite I mean, that's quite ironic considering these are the guys that made the Looney Tunes.
Yes.
But was it? I'm guessing it just didn't fit in with what they saw the future of Time Warner, because then they took over AOL.
That's the one. Yeah. Who then lost billions of dollars in money.
Yeah, and they've just bought HBO.
Wow.
AOL Time Warner.
So because they didn't want them on the channels anymore, they put WCW up for sale.
Well, I mean, from a business point of view, if you look at something, you've just bought a company and there's a thing that's losing $60 million.
And of course, so they went through various things. Like the guy who used to run WCW, a guy called Eric Bischoff, it looked at one point like he was going to buy it, but Jamie Keller, who worked for Time Warner, said, "Look, you can have the company, you can have the ring, you can have the talent, you can have all of that. You're not having any TV time." When Bischoff said, "Without the TV time, the company's worth jack shit." So,
like you're not going to have any slots on their network, in networks that they own or their sister networks.
Yep. So there was only one man who could have bought it, and of course that was Vince McMahon. So the WWF.
I thought you were going to say Ric Flair then.
Ric Flair.
Or do you reckon Cyndi Lauper got a call? It was like,
listen, do you know how much they sold it for in 2001?
2001.
So
losing $60 million a year. Probably worth like on the market $1 billion, but they probably sold it for like $5 million.
You're not far off. $6 million quid.
$6 million.
$6 million they sold it for.
Gee, so what was that back then? About £3 million?
Something like that. Yeah. Chris Jericho once said in an interview that if he'd known it was going to sell for that little, he would have bought it himself.
Really?
So Vince McMahon bought it, and he got a load of talent.
Yeah.
All the big name talents, right? So like Goldberg, Hulk Hogan, Scott.
Well, that's it, because I remember people talking about Goldberg and seeing Goldberg. Like, Steve Austin was on WWF at that time, and Goldberg was on the other.
Yep, he was on.
And I remember seeing them both and thinking, these guys look very similar.
Exactly the same, don't they? Bald, black tights.
But Goldberg was in
WCW.
No, he was in, I think the first sequel, maybe the third, to Universal Soldier.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
I think it was the second one.
And then they went on and made like 3 or 4 more. When no one was asking for it.
No. Was each one worse than the previous one?
I think I've only seen the second and third one. And I remember, because I saw Universal Soldier when I was a kid, so it was amazing. And then I saw the second one when I was a lot older, and I went, this no, I shouldn't have done this.
See, let's just have an aside here before I continue. So, Universal Soldier, because it's a nice little segue into it. So Goldberg started using one of the tracks from Universal Soldier called Crush 'Em, which is by Megadeth. Okay, he started using that as his entrance music, and WCW paid Megadeth a stupid amount of money to come play Crush 'Em live on Nitro.
Really?
Now, wrestling fans aren't interested in seeing live music because they're there to see wrestling. So the segment bombed. The live crowd were like, meh. All the people watching at home went, oh, I want to watch wrestling, so I'll click it over to WWF.
Yeah, because if it's on at the same time...
Yep, exactly.
Oh, you idiots.
See, they did shit like that every week.
Which I suppose sounds like a good idea, but that's when you're not focusing on... But then I think loads of businesses were going through this in like the turn of the noughties. Because they're like, what is this internet thing? Should we have had a website by now?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you should have. So
Vince bought the WCW and then proceeded to have one of the worst booked storylines ever, because he had the dream storyline of which wrestling fans all through the 90s wanted to see was WWF
crossover event
versus WCW.
Yeah.
And he was gifted to that, but because he's a fucking idiot, one of the greatest businessmen ever, fucking idiot, he wouldn't portray the WCW wrestlers in the same light as the WWF ones. They were always perceived as inferior. So
really?
They did a show called Invasion, which is where it was WWF versus WCW, drew a phenomenal buy rate, but made so much money. And then after that, from then until the November of 2001, the WCW Warriors look weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker until they just canned the storyline. One of those, fuck it, we'll do a winner takes all event. Fuck it.
Do you think there was some kind of behind the scenes like competition?
Oh god, yeah. And Vince McMahon encouraged it.
Like not the wrestlers behind the scenes. I mean between like the owners and the board of WWF and the owners and the board of WCW.
Oh, the owners and the board.
Like that they fucking hate.
No, they only the board. What before they were bought?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, god yeah. Vince McMahon hated.
So do you think it was that Vince McMahon was like, this was basically just a big fuck you?
A big fuck you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
now I have your toys and I'm not going to play with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What an asshole.
So WCW. It's literally from then until now. They've released a couple of DVDs like the Best of Nitro, the Best Match of WCW, which is down there somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's it. It's just not mentioned at all. And they did on the network, they did a documentary series about the Monday Night Wars, for example. And all the Nitros are on the network, for example, if you want to watch them.
So all of the back...
Yeah, all the WCW stuff there. It's all there. All the WCW pay-per-views are all there.
The fact that he kept them all on was quite a good thing. I mean, I'm supposing he almost doubled his audience.
No.
Or whatever.
No. That's the great mystery here.
Well, hang
is
on.
That so let's say for argument's sake, on the last Nitro, 3 million people watched the last ever Nitro, right? So you would think that the following Monday, those 3 million people would tune into WWF Raw. None of them did.
That's so weird.
Now I'm using 3 million as an example.
Yeah.
But 3 million people at that point just went, don't watch wrestling anymore, and just stopped, and they've never come back. Yeah. And the thing is, from that point, the WWF's ratings went and have been falling ever since.
Really?
Yeah.
Still falling?
Still falling. Yeah.
Even through The Rock?
Yeah. No, because The Rock was before that.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas nowadays, you've got a 3-hour Raw, which no one wants to watch because it's so fucking long and it's full of shit. With just... Again, how long have we got? 20 minutes. So we got... It's I call it 50-50 bookings where no one wins. So if me and you have a match this week and I win, we'll have the same match next week, but you'll win.
Every week.
And then it just goes on and on and on like that. No one wins matches. No one wins feuds. Sorry, feuds go on forever and no one wins.
Why?
Which is ridiculous in my opinion. Hate it.
Why aren't they doing anything about it?
Because they get paid a astronomical figure every 3 or 4 years. They negotiate with the networks. The networks will give them a massive chunk of money. And think about it, it doesn't matter what they put on because they've already paid for it. So they don't have. I don't think they have a bottom line of you have to get this rating anymore. They just want content.
But then that's a dangerous thing though, because then the networks could turn around and go, "We don't want you this year."
Yeah, they can. But because the rating they get isn't great compared to what it was, but it's still a lot of people.
I suppose also, I mean, there's this, what was it, WWE Now, whatever.
Network.
Which is like a subscription.
Yes.
Is it monthly or yearly? Or
it's monthly.
Monthly.
$9.99.
So
it's the best value for money you can spare.
What's that, about $15 or something?
No, it's $9.99 everywhere.
Oh, so it's
$9.99.
Wait, so you pay £9.99?
Yes.
And someone in the US pays $9.99?
Yes.
It's not really fair.
Not sure it's in yen, but
no, yeah,
it is. And literally, if you're watching this and you have any faith in my opinion, right, watching this now, it is the most value for money thing that you can put your money into. In my opinion, the network is.
Unless if you're watching this, Netflix, Amazon Prime.
As a wrestling fan, the thing with the network is there is more content wrestling wise on the network than you could watch in your life.
I mean, I'm quite annoyed that there is, like, if there was a, I mean, there probably is. I don't know if there is. I know there's like an online comic thing, Comixology. Mm-hmm. The difference there is that I want to own the comics.
Exactly. Excuse me. Gassing on.
But I suppose with wrestling, I mean, it is cool that you can go back into the archives, or at least what they bothered to put on there. But they put a lot of archives on there. Oh,
gotcha, tons.
I suppose that's like the BFI film subscription or whatever it is. You can go back and watch loads of old films, which is quite cool.
I don't watch current WWE at all. I haven't watched it since since WrestleMania. I haven't watched a single minute of the main product. I watch NXT from time to time, and since NXT started their UK show, I've watched all the episodes of that. But to do my reviews, I need access to wrestling shows, which is why they can happily have my £10 a month.
Do you keep up to date with news?
Yeah,
wrestling and stuff. So you know what's going on.
I know what's going on.
Yeah, you know a rough idea, or a more well-informed idea of what's going on.
And if I'm reading a review of a show that I think, wow, that sounds interesting. Normally, that moment. That amazing thing that's happened is normally on YouTube because they'll put it on their own official YouTube channel, so you can watch it there.
Do you think then, because it seems like it's not about getting old, then the reason? I mean, is this the same amongst other people that you speak to? They've lost interest in WWE. God damn it! Fucking pandas. Is this why there's a bigger interest then amongst you guys for British wrestling?
Maybe.
Because it's different. You're seeing something different. The character. I mean, are the characters similar to?
I think a lot of wrestlers in the UK they just go. I think we talked about that on either the pilot or on the episode 1. Yeah. There isn't many characters in the.
So it's all about the wrestling.
Yeah.
So I can understand then that's why. Like, you're not in a crisis of wrestling. Like, if they shut down comic books, like all comic books, I would be like, why? But there is still, like, if Marvel went down, I'd be like, oh, that's a shame.
But you're a DC man.
But I'm a DC guy. So, but if DC, I'm trying to think of like how I would compare. If DC was bought out by Marvel, I don't know how I'd feel. And they kept the characters. Like, would I want to see Superman be in a comic book with Spider-Man?
If Superman fought against Spider-Man, would DC keep Spider-Man as powerful as he is in Marvel?
Would Marvel be more
protective? Because that's what the WWF didn't do. They made all the wrestlers from WCW look inferior.
Yeah, so if Superman went into Marvel and then he fights up against...
so if he goes against Spider-Man and just goes, you're nothing. Great, well done. Where's the appeal?
Yeah.
Why do you want to see those two fight?
That's so strange that they would do that, though.
It was weird. They had this. Not only did they have this storyline that people had dreamt about for years, but the first pay-per-view that they did for it did such a monster buy rate that it showed that the demand was there. Because they just fucked it off.
They've done a couple of Marvel DC crossovers, and they're called like crossover events, and they're quite cool, because it's marketed as.
Who comes out on top?
Well, that's it. In the end, because they're all superheroes, they all start working together.
Right.
Which is nice, because they're one big family. But it's... I mean, I don't know. It would be like... I'm trying to think of analogies, and it sounds like something that has never really been done before, unless they've done it with other sporting things where they've joined up conferences. But then you can't... Because it's, I suppose, structured reality... then it means that someone has to win and someone has to lose, and it's not necessarily based on skill. It just seems really stupid to do. To ruin like however many people's viewing habits.
That's one of those things. That's what they did. It's one of the most controversial, most talked about. There's loads of how would you have done it? How would you have booked the invasion?
How would you have done it?
I would have brought in. So that first buy rate, the invasion pay-per-view did, would have paid for every contract Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, anyone, all the big names that they needed to sustain it. And basically WCW would have won for a long time.
Because all of those guys...
That way, that first WWF victory would have mattered. So like for 3, 4, 5 months.
So would you have kept it going that this is the WCW guys and this is the WWF guys?
No.
You wouldn't have just immediately amalgamated them all together?
No.
Why would you have kept them separate?
Because then you can have what is something they're trying to do now. You have Raw and SmackDown. They have separate rosters. So you want
really?
Yeah. So they and then at the time of the recording, once again, I've said this a couple of times on this recording. I don't know, 7th of November. At the end of November is a show called the Survivor Series, and it's Raw versus SmackDown. So that's the only time during the year, apparently, they get together. So if you had,
so they're completely different wrestlers from each one. They're 2 different belts.
Yes.
I'm very disappointed. I just assumed there was 1 belt.
Nope. Yeah, me too. It should only be 1.
What happens when... Has there ever been a case where 2 people have won the belt?
Yes. Not in the main belt.
Do they just get a bigger belt so they can both wear it at once?
They're co-holders.
Oh.
Awful. So...
They look after it like the school hamster.
Yeah, so if you had WCW and WWF, you could have had them on their own shows, doing their own thing, and then every so often you have crossover.
Oh, so you would have kept it so that you would have just taken on WCW.
Give its own TV show.
What did WCW stand for? World
Championship Wrestling. Stupid name.
I was just about to say it sounds like a better name.
Oh, really?
Well, it's like World Championship Boxing, or
fair.
More of a bout.
So yeah, to answer a very long-winded. That's why WCW doesn't exist. That's why it's not the WWF. And that is another episode of Constructing a Marc.
There you go.
Thank you ever so much for watching. If you've watched this far in, bloody hell, well done. Give yourself a proverbial pat on the back.
How long has that been? Was that an hour? An hour and 10.
Jesus, man. I don't know how long we gassed on at the start, but
yeah.
So once again, please follow us on Twitter. Our links are in the description box. Please like us on Instagram. This guy's phenomenally talented. Seriously, go buy his cards. They're 10 for a tenner.
Actually, online at the moment they're just £1 each,
which is 10 for a tenner.
That is very true. Yeah, it's also 8 for 8 and 6 for 6.
Hey, then they're brilliant. I buy them all the time, not just because Connor's my mate, because they are fucking brilliant and they make people laugh, which is good. I've seen people buy £20 worth of cards in one go and things like that. So yeah, go check out tinc.com. Link is again down in the description. Do we know what we're going to talk about next?
Well,
should we just consult the board?
Well, we've got wrestling in Hollywood, but I think that kind of ties in with what we've been doing today, so we shouldn't do that. So I think we've talked mainly about the American stuff today, so I reckon next time it should be British wrestling. Okay. Which is like your...
I'm intrigued. The one I'm looking forward to at the moment is the Wrestling in Hollywood one, because you're such a film buff.
Well, also I want time so I can go back and watch like 3 Ninjas and stuff.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well,
it's gonna be a hard slog, isn't it?
We'll let you know nearer the time what our next topic is, or we might just not tell you, and we'll just like, bam, here's a new episode. Who knows?
Drop the mic.
If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the little bell to get a notification bell. So you get all my videos when they go online. And thank you once again ever so much for watching. We're loving doing this, aren't
we? Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's alright.
Yeah, I suppose. It's fine.
I'd rather do my 10 years go visible.
I'd rather just do this on my own. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good
It's
point.
weird though, because I'd keep asking questions and there would just be no one to answer.
Yeah, very good point.
A monologue of questions.
Alright then, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. Take it easy and goodbye.